1 minute, 10 seconds and counting. We still are go at this time. Weighs 1.3 million pounds. Is ready to go. Coming up on the 10-second mark. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. We have ignition. Commit liftoff. We have liftoff. This is launch control. We have cleared the tower. One minute, 10 seconds and...
Vroom, 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 goes a red race car. Vroom, 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 goes a red race car. 500 miles around the speedway, round and round. Vroom, vroom.
Chris from Madhouse Radio, right here on Long Island. Thanks, guys. Come on in.
Hey, Dina.
All right.
Dina, I love what you did with the place.
I know, it's
Looks
great.
stunning.
I know.
Wonderful.
Ray and Chris are from Madhouse Radio, right out here on Long Island. WPC, right?
WHPC, yeah.
HPC.
Yes.
From right out here on Long Island. And it's a radio show, but they are now, thankfully, on the internet. Because I was never able to listen to their show because it was a little out of range. So, great thing is, I'm able to listen to them, and we have a link on our page, so we'll get to that later. And I see that they've brought some goodies, so I've always told them that they need to be a little more visual, so I'm glad they're here. I'm glad they're here to be a little more visual.
Well, you have to realize, Chris has always told me that radio is not a visual medium.
Right.
Yet I bring props to our radio show all the time because I want to show them what I'm doing.
You had an acupuncturist the other day, which was a little frightening.
I was under treatment for the full hour on the air live, yeah.
It was. Yeah. We still couldn't figure out how to play it, though. how an acupuncturist can actually weave its way into an automotive talk show.
Well, I was a little nervous, yes, and I must
You
say
were.
they did have an acupuncturist, but they are an automotive radio show, which is another reason why we had them on tonight. So.
You should have seen that probe.
Oh, yes. And where he was putting it. Now I'll tell you, Dina, you and Drew have been on our show many times.
Yeah.
And we love having you on because we love talking about racing. And we found there's certain hot topics that we could talk about, and we cover everything. But whenever we cover racing, and specifically local racing, we call them local legends, the phones light up, we get aftermath, we get emails, we get people tell us, hey, when are you going to get them back on? Can you get this one? Can you get that one? They start throwing names around. So the interest is there, certainly.
That's good to hear. For anybody who doesn't know, we are based on Long Island, because I know this is going to be going everywhere. We do have a lot of fans down south, which we love.
So do we.
I know, that's great. And for our down south people, you know, for us Italians, gravy for us is red. Right. I know we've had that discussion off the racing topic.
And it's made on a pot on the stove. It's not born in a jar in the supermarket.
But for all of our down southers at VMP, thank you, Virginia Motorsports Park. That's our home away from home. Gravy down there now is red, thanks to us.
Nice. Thanks to you.
Thanks to our meatball flinging ways.
Did you cook for them? Because I know you cook. On the race team.
Yeah, you know what? You
cooked for us.
I have fed upwards of 20 people out of that motorhome.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm not talking hamburgers and hot dogs. No, we are talking eggplant, lasagna, meatballs, fresh meatballs. Yeah.
You showed up to our studio with sausage and pepper.
Sausage. Actually, that was Andrews.
Yes.
That
delicious.
Was Andrews,
delicious.
Yes. That was Andrews sausage and peppers. Yes.
Yeah.
It was stunning. It was magnificent.
Well, that's another thing we found. We talk about cars primarily, and motorcycles, and racing, and all sorts of different topics. We run the gamut. But there's always food intertwined. Because you have to eat. People have to eat.
Of course.
And if you come from where Chris comes from, in the old country, it's a religion more than anything else.
You know what? My eggplant poem made it into Super Chevy magazine.
Did it?
Thank you, Jim Camposano.
I thought you meant when I spilled it on the pages when I was reading the magazine.
Made it into Super Chevy magazine.
Wow. That's nice.
Right.
I thought it's when you spilled it on the hood of the car.
that was back in the Super Comp days. Yeah. Right. Our Camaro also made it in there. Very, very full on fire, but that's a whole other story.
So what's up with the race team these days? What are you guys up to? I know that you're always...
No, see, there you turned it back around.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
That's what he does.
That's what I do.
That's what he does.
See, I had to remember these days.
Is that the old tweak you shirt?
Yeah. There's that Camaro, that beautiful Camaro.
Tweaked your racing.
Yeah.
Oh, the good old days.
It's hot in the summer. I can't wear it in the summer. It's too hot.
It melts, sticks to your skin.
Yeah, it sticks.
That's a hot one.
But it was good for tonight.
Tweaked your racing. Oh, those were the days, yeah.
Oh, so you want to interview us, is what you're saying?
Who knew?
Oh, then go right ahead.
Who knew?
It's a question.
How long have you guys been doing a radio show?
About 85 years.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't a marriage question. Although I guess it could be, right?
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, Ray is my second wife.
Well, the synergy that you find when you have a team like we do is you find that you actually can think like the other person. God help me for saying that.
Or exactly the opposite.
Yeah, but in being exactly opposite, you get the other, you can fill in the other part of it. So the show's been in existence for this is the 11th year.
Yes.
Wow.
I've been on the show for this is my 8th of the 11th years.
Wow.
Chris
So I'm
is the
trying to think
originator.
how long ago it was, because we started with you guys when we were on the Supercomp, when we ran the Supercomp car.
When the article ran on you in Newsday, whatever year that was it 05?
07, I think.
07. That was when I saw it. I read that. I was sitting at home Sunday morning reading the paper. I said, look at this. A drag race team on Long Island, a woman. I said, this is great. I mean, they had your picture on the cover, and I said, I got to get these people on my show. Right. But there was no contact information. So I saved the article. I said, all right, I'll try and figure it out. I'll try and dog it and do some detective work. I kept hitting dead ends.
Yeah, I think they forgot to put the
They
website
did. They put nothing.
Yeah.
So it basically just, it fell by the wayside. And I said, okay, you can't get every guest that you want. And then you contacted us.
How funny. I didn't even remember.
I don't remember how that part of it happened because I don't remember what I had for lunch yesterday. But I remember it came from the other way. It came back from the other way. I said, this is Kismet because I've been trying to get these people on the show.
What we loved about interviewing you was the fact that you were the driver. You had taken that role of the star, and Drew, who was the driver, took on the role of like the long-suffering husband.
Yeah.
to ask the questions to you guys and then watch you both bicker back and forth.
Yeah,
And Ray and I just sat back.
We've been asked in the pit area if people, they're like, do you sell tickets to this? Because we'd buy them.
We've had many of our listeners and friends ask us, are those people for real? Do they really drive? Does she really drive? I'm like, yeah, check it out. Here's the website. Go take a look.
And you know, it's so funny because it's not like, there are so many females.
But you can't be surprised. Yeah, but how many do we know? You know, how many do we know?
I guess, but you know, there are so many females out there. And I think the fact that the thing that I like about it now, you know, when we do step out into that arena, NHRA, ADRL, is that nobody really cares.
Right.
They don't really care. Once the helmet's on, they don't really care.
Oh yeah, once you get your butt whooped by a woman, what did the decal on the back of your car say? On the back of the Camaro?
Other than Motormouth Radio?
Yeah, other than
I don't remember.
I have a picture of it. Was it like if you could read this, you've just been beaten by a woman?
Oh yeah, something like that. Yeah,
I mean, there you go. When you're a man and you drag race an opponent and it's for real, and you read that at the back, you're like, oh, come on.
But I think it's funny because now I really don't think most men really they're like, yeah, whatever. They don't care if you're.
Well, there's been enough women in this sport to prove that women, I think, have better reaction times, have better light acuity, better reflexes in many cases, and the ones who actually participate in the sport oftentimes can excel.
I mean, look at Melanie Troxel, look at Leah, look at there are so many.
Well, you beat Drew up all the time in the line, right?
I do.
There you go.
And he will admit, he's the first one to admit it, that that I get him at the light every time. I do, and it's funny because the one tape from NHRA Unleashed is him saying to me, yeah, you better not sleep at the light. Yeah, you better not sleep at the light. And I treat his butt big. He beat me because I fell off half track, but then I pedaled it to try to get him back. I didn't have enough real estate to do it.
That's not a bicycle she was riding.
I was just going to say,
no, she didn't pedal the bicycle.
You fell off mid-track.
Yeah.
Power dropped.
Okay. And that's basically what we do on the show. You know that, Dina. When you start getting high-tech, a lot of times you need someone like me to go, huh?
I love the fact that this is BurndownTV.
Yeah. Yes.
Because we have Burn Down Radio pretty much.
Yeah. And it's funny because a lot of people don't, the burn down is a drag racing term.
Right.
And it basically means that it's a staging duel, and who's gonna, and Doug Herbert and Clay Milligan, they were the ones who really, if you go on YouTube, you can find that was kind of where the Dougzilla thing came from.
One of my idols, the king of the burn down, was Don Garlitz. He was known for this in the 70s.
Look at that.
I was going to say, you cleaned off your desk?
Yeah. Took that off my wall.
You need to wipe it off. We're going to have the stuff all spread out on the table. There's the first. Don Garlitz.
He was known for that. He actually, in one season, he had won eight titles already. He was up for his ninth. It was in the final round. I forget the driver's name. I have it written down. And he told his team, he says, I'm not staging first. I'm not staging first. I refuse to do it.
Really?
And because he's burned down, he was going to let the other guy burn down. The other driver also was very obstinate. So you have to pre-stage, trip the pre-stage lights, then you trip the stage lights, and then you get your tree and you go. So Garlitz wouldn't pre-stage, and the other driver wouldn't pre-stage.
So they sat there?
It went on for 20 minutes. This is in 1970. They won't let you do that now.
No, well, because in the instance of Doug Herbert and Clay Milligan, they had pre-staged, and they were pre-staged for like a minute and a half, and Rick Stewart cut him off. And he was like, because even Doug Herbert was like, by that point, he said we would have blown up.
Well, one of two things happens.
He knew it; they would have blown up.
Either the engine heats up, and you're going to lose power, or the tires cool down. Because you just did that burnout and got those tires nice and hot. And just a few degrees makes a big difference.
Now you're just sitting there.
And we're talking old school rails here. This wasn't modern technology. So when in Garlitz's thoughts, the way the guy actually thought this out was, well, you know what? I have an aluminum-headed 471 Hemi. It was a Keith Black engine. And he knew that his opponent was running a 392 iron-headed Hemi. And he said, he's going to get hotter faster. I can sit here longer because I have aluminum heads. Meanwhile, what he didn't see was there was stuff coming out of the back of his car. It was one of his rear-engine cars. The lights go. Garlitz did lose because he went up in smoke and he lost the engine. And when he got back to his pit, his crew chief at the time told him, what are you crazy? You stupid? All you had to do is get up, pre-stage stage. You had him. I mean, Garlitz at the time was running like I think like a 763. The other guy was running like a 790. So, and he kicked his butt. Well, the other guy only got up there because of losses and buys and whatever. And it was really just like, Galtz was going to kick his butt. He just had it in his head. If he just would have got up there and run him heads up, he would have destroyed. But he lost his 9th title. Did not get his 9th title because of that.
Wow.
So the burn down can work for you and it can work against you.
It's crazy. Yeah. But the name, I just thought it was a great name for.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool name. It's a very cool theory, but nowadays very hard to achieve.
Sure.
And very ridiculous to achieve. But what do you guys have some stuff coming up, right? You're like on a press tour this week.
We are. We're like on this junket.
You know what? Why don't you hold that thought and we'll be right back when I have a word from our sponsors.
Great.
Pure adrenaline.
Everything you love about Geico. Now mobile. Download the new Geico app today.
Pure adrenaline.
Everything you love about Geico. Now mobile. Download the new Geico app today.
Dominatrix do it. On command. Wonderful pistachios.
Where were we? I wanted to know, you guys are on like a press tour this week. I know you have some stuff going.
I thought you wanted the lasagna recipe.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
You won't give that up.
I will. I would. Sure.
Not even to me?
Oh, yeah, I would. I would. We have a busy, all of a sudden things have aligned. We're doing this. This came out of nowhere. You blindsided us with this.
I know I did, but I knew you couldn't say no.
No, that's okay. Yes. This coming Saturday night, we'll be out at WRCN on Full Throttle Rocks with Greg and Lee, because we had them on our show a while ago. I listened to their show, and they were going to do a thing about motorcycle safety. They had a safety ride, and I'm a motorcycle rider and very safety conscious, so I got a hold of Greg and said, listen, give me some information on this or call us. Let's incorporate it in our show so we can, let a wider base of people know what's going on. Well, that led to them coming in and doing the Greg and Lee show. Which was great.
Yeah, I think, how much time did you cover on motorcycle safety during that show?
About 3.2 minutes, maybe.
Which is about 3.1 minutes longer than I need to talk about motorcycles, but that's beside the point.
It's funny because every time I see a motorcycle, actually I think of you.
Do you?
Yeah, every time they're not wearing a pair of boots or they're not, that makes me crazy because, Andrew and I, from the time that we were in Supercomp, people used to make fun because in Supercomp I wore Hans.
Mm-hmm.
What are you wearing Hans for? You're only running 890s.
Did Andrew wear Hanes?
Hanes and a Hans.
Okay, good.
Hanes and a Hans.
Just want to check.
That's fine. Yeah,
Was that drag racing humor?
Right.
What is that? What was that? How about the unsolicited?
We're not talking about the fishnet humor. That's,
all right, we'll get into that.
That's the other drag racing humor.
Fishnets and G-strings.
Right. Can you say that on the show?
Can you? Is this a family show?
Yes, it is though. So, Hans the Rice, neck protection for in the car to keep you from juggling around. Connects to your helmet.
Okay.
So I wore that in the Supercomp car, which at that point people really weren't. They were just wearing the neck collar. And people, what are you wearing that for? And we're like, you know what? We knew that we wanted to move up into Pro Mod eventually, and we said, we really want to be all about the safety and just,
Yeah.
Why not start now?
Well, I gotta say, your team is very conscientious, safety-wise. I mean, just the way you conduct yourself.
We were from the beginning.
Yeah.
We were from the beginning. So we still are. Everything's all about the safety. If we, and thank goodness, I've slapped the wall a couple times.
Oh yes, you have.
and I got out and made lunch.
Well, that's why I jumped on the motorcycle safety thing, because I feel I've been riding a bike for 30 some odd years, and last year for the first time we had a caller who, well, not the first time we had a caller that asked, but the first time a caller asked if they should get a bike, what kind of bike they should get, and I came out and said, don't do it. Which is contrary to every other year. I've always encouraged it. And I said, you know what? I've been riding a long time. I ride a big red touring motorcycle, and I had a woman right next to me and decided to just move. Like, where you going? I'm sitting right here. What don't you see?
Well, I think that I have found recently that apparently using your mirror is optional.
Yeah, it's optional.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I'm not real sure about that. And I noticed that people don't really look past the emblem on the front of the car.
Yeah.
That's an issue. Sure. And it was a conversation that I had with Doug Herbert when we went to NHRA in North Carolina. We went to the 4-wide, and we had that conversation.
Oh, yeah, at ZMAX, yeah.
At ZMAX. And we went to Doug Herbert's, the pancake breakfast that he had for his brakes organization. And, you know, they're all about teaching the kids, you know, because he had, unfortunately, he lost his 2 sons. Right. But he's turned it around and made it turned it into a good thing. Brakes, you know, be responsible and keep everyone safe. Right. And teaching the kids and with their parents how to keep everybody safe. You know, how to teach them, you know, as drag racers, we know not to just look at the front of the car to keep looking. So teaching them a lot of different things and how to drive safely, how to drive on wet pavement, that kind of thing.
You made Motormouth Radio history that day.
I did?
Yes, you did, because you were at ZMAX on the right side of the starting line, and our good friend Rob Stuck from the Gunk Corporation was on the left side, and you guys were less than, like, you know, 40, 50 feet from each other.
I didn't have my laptop, I had my iPhone, so I really didn't realize that he was there until later on when I saw his post on Facebook. It was very funny.
So anyway, to finish answering your question, that's what we'll do Saturday night. Then Sunday after our radio show, we're going to be filming for the AutoZeum, Mike Manning's AutoZeum project that's finally kicking off. Which is, for Chris, for some reason, I don't know why he made us the spokespeople, the faces behind. I don't know why.
But that's cool. Well, you know, we're going to be at the opening.
Right, that's May 23rd. Will be the opening in Garden City.
And for those of you who are not from the island, or if you are, May 23rd, it's 100 County Seat Drive in Mineola.
Yes.
There's going to be the opening of the AutoZeum. The AutoZeum is pretty cool. Mike Manning, Andy Pearl's going to be there. Yes. Andy is George Barris's right-hand man. Those of you who...
The East Coast rep,
do not know who George Barris is.
I'm going to see, you know, when we film on Sunday, there was talk about Mike podcasting, videocasting the filming that we do at the AutoZeum. And I want to see if he's going to film it on the opening. Because that may go out, you know, over the internet feed.
Yeah. So we'll be showing the cars on the 23rd.
Stay tuned to either PariseRacing.com, MotormouthRadio.com, and we'll put up links if that's or information how to get that. That cast.
That would be great. I have some other questions.
There was a good chance that we may even be interviewing you again.
Oh no! What I have to know? What was your weirdest guest you ever had?
Our weirdest guest?
You.
Me, probably. Weirdest guest.
Like a strangest guest.
I tell you something. You have to. You pretty much have to subdivide that into a more finite category because all our guests are weird in some way.
We're talking about cars. We're talking about food.
Did you ever have something that just you couldn't pull it out of them?
We had
you might not have to. You might not be able to use a name, obviously.
Yeah, we had one guest
that you just couldn't pull stuff out of.
One guest who happened to be female, and not to put anything, not to say anything badly about it, but she thought she was an automotive aficionado.
Oh yes.
And she started to.
This is a woman who does national TV and video and blog writing, and she's all over.
Right. Midway through the interview, she fell flat and just pretty much didn't want to talk about cars anymore.
You know what it is? She was
so what did she talk about, like Dale College?
Nothing.
No, she was playing things on a very fluff, and because it was Chris, myself, and Mikey T, Mike Timmons, who was the co-host at the time, she was trying to play to the guy angle. And she was a good-looking woman, and it wasn't working. Because we were there to talk about cars, and we were there to find out, get to some nuts and bolts. And we asked her some pointed questions about how do you do this and how do you do that, or how would you go about that? And she just sloughed it all off.
Yeah, it went from...
There was no substance. It was all just window dressing.
It was like a personality change.
And we uncovered it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So what we did was we just motored right around it, basically.
We didn't do what everybody else does in that case. We didn't pander to her and fall down and say, oh, God, let's just, that's so cute. No, we held the feet to the fire on the brake. Mikey T went at it with her. He really went at it with her.
Yeah.
And after that, the show.
Well, but it's not cute if somebody is making money or.
Oh yeah.
Or.
If she was making money, we weren't. So,
Right.
Yeah, right.
You know.
But we learned to just rise above it. That was it. We just went above it and did our show and did it the best we could with just someone else warming a seat there.
Yeah.
Because we basically kept her mic down.
Her cameraman kept, because they filmed it, her cameraman kept rolling his eyes because he knew, he saw
Really?
what was happening.
Yeah.
He knew, he's like, no one had ever done that. Nobody had ever done that to her. I guess because, I don't know why, they just...
See, and there are sometimes, you know, I'll get asked a technical question, and there are sometimes where I'll refer to my husband. You know, when I'm in the car, I hear, they call me hawk ears, because I hear, hawk ears, hawk eyes. I hear and I see everything.
Mm-hmm. And that's probably great.
And, you know, and sometimes, too, it's almost like they don't want to give me too much information. It's like, you know what, I'd rather you just said to me, you know, sometimes I'll say to my crew chief, and, you know, before you were talking about, like, knowing one another so well, like, we laugh because he'll answer, he's like my husband now because he'll finish my sentences, we crack up. But I hear things, I'll hear things in the car and I'll tell Andrew, and in the beginning he didn't believe me. I'll tell him I heard something in the car, he's like, that's impossible. I'm like, okay, it's impossible.
Yeah.
You know, and then of course the fight ensues.
Right.
You know, and then, you know, whatever, I'll go make lunch. Okay, don't believe me. And then the next time the car goes out, you know, the oil pressure drops or something. He's like, oh, I guess so, really. Yeah, I guess so. I guess I was right.
Old hawk ears.
And I hear everything in that car. I know every little sound it makes. And if something's not exactly the same, I'm going to tell you what it is. Mm-hmm. You know, so I may not know the exact mechanics, but I could tell you every single little noise about that car. Everything. I know that car inside and out.
It's like I know every little noise of my co-host inside.
It's fabulous.
It is.
That's good. That's good.
And I keep telling him he's noisy, and he doesn't believe me, and then all of a sudden he explodes. And there's stuff all over the console.
Let's see what else you got going on in that bag.
You want to see more toys?
Let's see what else you got going on.
Well,
Not that
Great
one.
to ask.
one of our biggest
It's your mortgage. What are you doing? with
benefactors here on the island and best friends is Billy Lynch.
You know what? I actually have a couple of pictures of Billy Lynch from.
He's one of my favorites. We keep this on the wall.
very
Yeah.
nice.
All right? Chris
Very
and I,
cool.
this is at the 109 Cackle Fest.
Yes.
Cackle Fest, for people who don't know, is where they actually take funny cars and rails and they literally start them up.
Yeah.
They do this on Route 109 here in a residential
Yeah.
area.
You know what I like about this
Yeah,
picture?
that-
It looks like it was taken in 1968.
It does.
Yeah.
Why is
It's got that old
Why
washed
is
out
that? Yeah.
color look to it. I love it.
Yeah, I don't know if Tom
this
can
is-
find that. Wow, that's cool.
This was a
That's very cool.
a
I don't know if you
magazine
can see
cover.
that.
It was
Very cool.
it was it was drag cartoons.
Drag.
Very
Pete
cool.
Millar, who's a very well-known cartoonist. Yeah, we'll show this to the camera. He was a very well-known
That's very cool.
cartoonist.
Is Dina in there? Or is-
And he passed away a few years ago. What his family did was they went to his archives and found all these covers that he had, and decided to release them.
Oh, that's on that website, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So Billy told me about it, and I actually was
Oh,
able to
good.
buy this from his
That's
family,
very
and of
cool.
course, Billy's side. This is Billy's drag, so that's his digger.
Yeah. I have I don't know if Tom can pull them up. I actually have some pictures of I had gone to Billy Lynch's I'm seeing some pistons and
That's
some rods.
scaring me.
I had gone to Billy Lynch's place of business, and I saw his car there, and that was the last car that Pat Foster built.
That's right.
Yeah,
Right. That's
and
exactly
that
right.
car is absolutely amazing.
This is something I cherished for
It's
a long
called
time.
a dust collector. Yes.
It is a dust collector.
Yes.
This is a
You
John
can't
Force.
see it, but there's John Force's name right there. Yes,
Oh,
and
you can
congratulations to Mike Neff on his win this weekend.
I got this down at Race Rock.
And look, you're still using it as an ashtray, I see.
Oh, wait. But I'll tell you something. This got surpassed. This past year. And when it got
It
surpassed.
got surpassed.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna fill this table. Dude.
This.
Look at this bag he's
Oh
got.
yeah, it's a gun case. That's actually a piston.
And that's his
out
gun.
of one of Billy Lynch's dragsters. It's actually out of this car. This was the car that this piston was in. You can see it's all banged up, knocked around. Again,
I got plenty of those at home, trust me.
the driver, who was his driver at the
He
time?
signed it too.
Yeah, Al
Hold
Segrini.
it.
Billy signed it.
Al Segrini
That's
was
cool.
Billy's driver at the time for this car, and on the line he heard a little something, didn't know what it was, and basically decided to do his burnout and make the run. he should have stopped and had the crew chief come in and take a look at the car, because what happened is this motor lunched at about, I think about 80 feet down the track. There's video on the internet, you can go see it. A piston came out, literally blew out the rear tire, took out the wing, and spun the car around, flipped it over, and he went down the rest of the quarter mile on the cage. Alcigrini was fine. He had, I think, a couple bruised ribs. But this is a piston out of that actual engine. It literally, it's got asphalt marks on it. They found it like, I don't know, a couple thousand feet away.
Wow, yeah, that was when we were sitting down and having that conversation. That he did tell us that story in that conversation.
And that's a piston out of that actual engine. So that's another little keepsake.
Billy's got some amazing stories.
Going back to the 50s. You know, he was a racer into the 60s. I think he won the Nationals in 68 and then retired from the sport. And he came and he raised his family, you know, raised his kids, put them through school, had a very successful business, and then decided to get back into the sport, and he came back as a team owner. Yeah. And, you know, as you know, it ain't easy coming back as a top fuel team owner.
And I think for people on Long Island, they don't realize how many amazing racers we have right here on the island. Matter of fact, Vincent Nobile, who won Pro Stock this weekend. Yes. Congratulations, Vincent.
Trying to get him on the show.
And you know, Mike Castellana, who is just burning it up this year. Yeah. You know, and I think he's on his way to ADRL this weekend, and we'll be showing our faces up there this weekend. So look for us. We'll be on foot, but look for us anyway.
But you have to see Billy when he's at the Cackle Fest running that rail Hemi, just running it. And it's sitting there, it's idling at what? Like, probably, what, 1,000 RPM?
I never thought to look at it. I don't even know there's a tap.
And it's just crackling away, and he's standing right in front of it, and he has his hand on it. He's like a surgeon. He's just sitting there holding the hand on the injector, just sitting there and watching it fire.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well,
and just listening to it, reading it.
As the valve covers warm and as the hat cools from the from the nitro, he can tell just those inputs. He knows that the engine's running.
It's amazing.
He's an old. That's an old school tuner.
He's old school.
It's real old school. He looks at the exhaust. You know, he gives a little sniff. Yeah. Then he'll crack the pipes, and whoever's behind that thing just gets thrown.
Usually me.
I've been thrown backwards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that car is amazing though.
When the nitro hits you in the back of the throat, your eyes tear instantly. The nitro hits you in the throat. You stop to breathe for a couple seconds, and then you smile.
Oh, right, that's fun.
As the brain cells fly out of the back of your head.
People choke me. I'm usually not that.
Yeah, I love it. That's perfume.
All right. I think we're ready to take another commercial break, so we'll be right back.
Get cracking.
Where are you going? The job's in the other direction. We still got to get materials.
Yeah, I know, but it's a big construction job, and we got to go pick up a day laborer.
Oh, there's got to be a better way.
Tired of the hassle of going out of your way to pick up your day laborer? Well, at Home Depot, we've answered your call with our new day laborer aisle.
This one must be fresh.
How do you know?
Back is still wet.
Yes, now you can buy your day laborer and your materials in one convenient location.
Bicycle on Jesus.
Oh, I got a coupon.
Sorry, that's only good for Guatemalans.
Home Depot, solving your construction needs one day laborer at a time.
I need to return this one.
Why?
He doesn't work.
Bucket.
Tell me about, I know you guys are taping a TV show now, aren't you?
Well, no. Yes and no.
Right.
We had...
there's always something.
Yeah, there's something.
There's always a story.
I read a lot of media, I read a lot of journals and stuff. And in the Daily News, I saw an article about a guy who had a...
I got a guy.
In the Bronx.
I got a guy.
This guy, Joe Ferrer in the Bronx, owns BS&F Auto Parts. And they did a piece where they said he was... he helped he's big in the community, helps out all the local guys. Plus, he can get any part for any car almost any time, deliver it. He'll work late. Time's not an obstacle. That's his job to do that. And I said, wow, he'd be a great guest for the show.
That's the guy I need when that 25-cent solenoid takes a poo when I'm going to, when I'm doing my burnout.
Yeah.
Getting ready for an elimination round.
Exactly.
He'll just show up right at the track with it. Just there you go.
That's the guy I need.
So we couldn't get Joe in person, but he gave us a phone interview. And it was fantastic. He had what Chris and I had determined as a melting point. Where halfway through his interview, he was very almost clinical. He gave us all the facts and figures, stuff that he's done by rote to other people many times. And then halfway through, we asked him the questions that we ask everybody. Right. Like, what do you drive? What did you drive in high school? And people have that they just melt, and now they converse with you. You take them back in time, and now they're part of the interview. So the last part of the interview was great. Chris and Joe and I really had a great time.
Well, you did something brilliant. You actually asked him about his business when he's sleeping. He wakes up in the morning, in the middle of the night. Does he think about the business? And Joe goes into this ritual of how he gets up and goes to the bathroom and is stepping on toys and is thinking about the business and bumping into the coffee table and going through the whole litany.
And now he's wide awake at 2 a.m.
And that right now he's thinking about the business.
And you can hear his voice rose. He goes, and then I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking about the guys not coming into work and where my driver is. He goes, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Why can't I shut it off?
Right.
I was like, Joe, whoa, take it easy.
That was the melting point.
Yeah, that was the melting point. So we follow up we sent Joe a couple T-shirts and a thank you note like we always do. And next thing we know, we get an email from a production company in the Bronx that says Joe is filming this show called Hard Parts, South Bronx. They're filming it for Speed TV.
I love it.
And they have 12 episodes that they promised them, and they wanted us to be featured in one episode of the show properly. So we went through a lot of different things. Fast forward, we actually did go up there at the end of March. And the premise was there were going to be people coming in who were going to lay down a challenge to Joe to get them these parts for the cars. And we actually did a faux radio show right on the sidewalk under a tent.
I love it.
And we interviewed the people, we interviewed Joe, and they filmed everything. And it's going to be interesting to see because that's not the world we work in primarily. Chris is more of a film guy. But they start at the end and then end at the beginning. You don't know what they're doing. First. And it's slated to be aired on Speed this month in May.
Nice.
There's a race coming up, I think it's on the 19th. And after that race, they're going to have a preview for the show. I've seen that commercial. And then I guess they'll air the issue. So, I mean, our episode may get cut. We may never see it, but it's...
Well, you have to keep us posted. I know that there's a link to Motor Mouth Radio on our PariseRacing.com website. Yes. Or they can go to motormouthradio.com.
You need a PariseRacing.com banner, right?
Yeah, I know. We didn't have the banner made yet, so I have to work on that.
We have a good banner guy.
All right.
We just had a new Motor Mouth Radio banner made.
See, I'll have to get that done. That's good. I need to know that. Any other interesting pieces you want to bust out while you're at it?
I had a little thing here.
I said, look at this little.
Yeah, I got a little thing here.
It's waiting for it to glow.
No, this is just something else. I made a little stand for it. This is something only like car jerks could get off on. Check these out.
You're showing your plugs again.
Right? I know.
These are plugs that were actually out of Don Gollitz's motor.
Oh, look.
And they're autographed. He autographed the tags.
I know nobody can probably see these, but it does say Don Gollitz on the tag on the bottom.
And you can see it's a racing plug.
You have to hold them over there.
All right, it is a racing plug.
Giving a plug for the racing plug.
I'm giving him a plug, right, for his plug. All right, there we go.
Yes, kind of like NGK has,
I made a little stand out of
We'll give NGK a little plug for us because they've been with us since the Super Cup days. So
that we can
on that side, since we're filling up this side of the
I can annoy my wife with that on the bookshelf.
And do you keep all this stuff in the house?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Lord.
What are we going to keep in the garage? No, I don't have a nice garage. My garage is a working garage. It's outside.
Well, ours isn't working. We have 2 of them.
But your garage has a nice floor. You got walls. You got
one of them does.
Mine's brick, block. Ugh.
And he brings these things into a radio show. I can't stop him.
I've brought almost all this stuff into the show already.
See, this is why you needed this forum. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
I just need a camera. I'll do it at home. This is why we had you.
This is why we had you come here tonight. But see, we need to bring you to, you know, we need to bring you definitely to like one of our races. You know, the next time we get, I mean, we're looking for sponsorship now, so we're parked, which is
right.
Unfortunate for right now. But you know, we're getting out there, which is good. Like I said, we're going to be there for the AutoZam. We're also going to be showing, which is really cool. We're going to be showing the cars on the 25th and the 26th of May for Fleet Week.
Oh, nice.
At the Intrepid Museum, which is really,
Very
really
good.
cool. Yeah, actually, not the cars, just one car, the 63.
Okay.
I won.
How did
Pick
you?
me.
How did
I
you choose?
I think that Andrew and I had the conversation, and because my car has the two different sides, we thought that if we wanted to change the sides, we could show one day and one the next day. We're not quite sure what we're going to do with that, but you know, and now we're working with the New York State Trooper Marine Corps Association. It's a great not-for-profit helping veterans. It's kind of like an extended family for veterans. So we're actually going to be there in association with them, which is really cool. So, and it's a kind of a kickoff for their inaugural fundraiser, which is going to be on June 7th. So we're excited about that. So even though we're not racing, we're still trying to keep everything out there, which is good.
Is there a fear that that technology is going to start? At what point does technology pass you by?
Well, you know, even though we're not out there, we're still keeping up with everything in the cars. You know, we run converter, we don't run clutch. And
there was talk about going back to a clutch.
Well,
no.
Talk.
Yeah.
He talked about
talk
it.
is talk, and talk can become
cheap.
reality sometimes.
Yeah. But
hey, talk got you into the Camaro in the first place.
Got me on the air.
It got me on a radio show. So talking.
Yeah.
You know.
Right now, we're pretty happy with the converters. They've worked well for us. I think we're going to stick with that. And you know, we're still keeping up with all of the technology on the cars themselves. So as far as the cars go, we're keeping everything together, and everything's being put together as we speak, and keeping them up because we have to, and ready to rock and roll whenever anybody gives us the opportunity. So.
That's the problem. Yeah, the cars are beautiful. As you can see, these cars are absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. The photograph.
Fine looking cars.
The photograph is that's actually at the American Air Power Museum.
Right in Farmingdale.
In Farmingdale, and that's with an A10. That's an A10 team from they're from out of Georgia, but we had taken that. That's Andrew's old paint scheme, but. We had taken that, and of course you notice that I'm not standing anywhere near my husband because I was like, I'm in the middle of a bunch of pilots. I'll see you later.
Top Gun,
Sorry.
baby. Yeah.
But when we had done that, it was Memorial Day at the American Air Power Museum, so they were nice enough to let us take that picture with the A10, which was pretty neat.
That is very cool.
Yeah, because they were built there. We actually got to meet one of the original Rosie the Riveters.
Oh wow!
She was Josephine. Her name was. She was 80 years old. She was the cutest thing.
And you have to watch what you say, young lady, because I am still the president of the Drew Parise fan club.
That's right.
That's right.
That is the picture with that helicopter. A guy named Mike Scialaba. He's from right out here.
Irish fellow, is it?
Yes. Yes. He has a helicopter place out east. I have to, I can't think of the name of it. East End Helicopters, yes.
Yeah.
And he's going to be coming to the benefit, actually, he said. And that's Freedom's Flying Memorial, that helicopter.
Wow,
they dug that helicopter up out of a junkyard.
Did they?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep. I actually posted a very nice photo. They dedicated a bridge to a fallen soldier, and Mike had the helicopter hovering, and they had the soldiers. They had Marines. Beautiful photo.
That's a nice shot too.
Yeah, I don't know where that's from.
There we go.
There we go.
The good old days.
Yes.
Yes. Those are the good old days. You know, it's very funny though. I always
Drew
tell
looks
people,
so different.
I know,
does.
yeah, you know.
He's changed so much over the years.
God.
Great.
See what happens. You know, see what happens when you don't shave. And
Yeah.
I always tell people though, you know, I'm telling you, traveling with drag racing is the same thing as traveling with the Ice Capades.
Only there's a lot less hairspray.
Well, you know.
Look at that hair.
I'm
Will you
telling you.
look at that hair.
The hair.
That hair.
The
Look
hair,
at that hair.
doll.
That's high hair.
It's high. It's very high here.
That's look how high it. High hair. Look how
But
high
I'm
it
telling you,
is.
it is the same exact thing. The only difference now is I traded in my sequins for a fire suit. My skates are now tires, and the ice became a track. otherwise it's all the same thing.
Sometimes the track can be like ice skating.
Right.
Oh, well, yeah.
But do you
I
still
can attest
snap
to
your
that.
gum when you were in the car?
Oh, yeah. I get in trouble for that all the time.
You do.
I do. I get in trouble for that all the time.
Do you actually chew your gum while you're in a race?
No, not in the race
Oh,
car.
okay.
In the regular car. No, not in the race car.
I was going to say,
Imagine.
Drew probably gets in after you got out and he finds the gum, the
Stuck to the roll
stuck
cage.
to the roll
No,
cage.
but you know what I'm still waiting for? Because we had a very funny conversation about this. I want a little lipstick holder in the car.
Uh-huh.
He says to me, "What do you need lipsticks for? You drive in a car." I said, "When I get out of the car, I gotta look good.
You write your own
I can
time on the
stick a
window?
little lipstick on there. I can do that too.
Sure.
That's not a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
Not a
Maybe
bad
shoe
idea.
polish.
Not a bad. Do you ever drive a race car?
Not one like yours, no.
No, but I mean, even just like take
I've
your car
driven
down
race,
the
yeah.
track,
Oh,
right?
sure.
Englishtown.
And motorcycles too.
Englishtown, yeah. Englishtown's coming up for those of you in the in our area. Englishtown, it's like May 30th.
Right,
The
right.
Super Nationals are coming up.
That's where I got that picture of
Promots
Don
are gonna be
Garlitz. When they used to run the Summer Nationals at Englishtown. That's where I took that picture. I done, yeah, bang, took the picture, and then I was down in Ocala at his museum on a family vacation. And I said, the last day, I just have to go to Don Garlitz, wife and the kids did all the Disney stuff, and I tagged along, didn't take a t-shirt, nothing. I said, I'm saving it for the end. And I loaded up on Don Garlitz memorabilia and race rock. And I met him, and I said, listen, I have a picture of you I took at the Summer Nationals. Would you autograph for me? He goes, sure, let me have it. I said, well, I don't have it with me. It's at home. Can we work something out? He says, listen, here's the girl. She'll talk to you. Send it down to me. He goes, I'll make sure you get it back. Right away.
That's great.
And he did. He autographed it, sent it right back, and I was like, very good.
I thought you were talking about at Englishtown, the swap meet
Not the
motor
swap
show.
meet. No.
Oh, the swap meet. What, the Pink Panther thing. You're always looking for Pink Panther.
It was a Pink Panther slot machine that I passed on, and I should have bought. Yeah,
The
I'm a
slot
big
machine.
fan of it.
You and that slot machine.
I mean, it's not that it was a slot machine. It could have been a coffee machine. I'm a Pink Panther fan.
I know.
And I'm smacking him, buy it,
I
buy
like
it.
the Cheetos cat too. He's another one. Chester, I like Chester too. So
You wouldn't buy it.
I should have popped for it, but I was looking for car parts. I said, I may find the Holy Grail in the next aisle, and then I spent all the money on this. And of course, I didn't find the Holy Grail, and I didn't get the Pink Panther slot machine. So my wife is happy because it doesn't take up
It's
another
one less
corner.
thing that she has to have in the house.
One
Absolutely.
less thing the kids will throw in the dumpster when I'm
Absolutely.
gone.
Well, now you need to go to Englishtown and check out the Super National. Well, they call it the Super Nationals now,
right.
not the Summer Nationals.
No.
Although if you talk to Michelle at Englishtown, she still calls it the Summer Nats.
Yeah.
But because Pro Mods run at they don't run this week in Atlanta,
Right.
but they will run in at the Super Nationals.
What's
so.
the index those cars are running on now? What's
the
times?
Pro Mods?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, they're down into 577s.
Jeez.
Wow.
But yeah, all right. We are going to take a commercial break, and we will be right back.
We don't need the.
This is Tom Mealy for the Harrison Law Group. And for years, you've heard me talk about people on Long Island involved in accidents. Accidents, it happens when we least expect it. And if you're lucky, you walk away with little to no pain. However, the next day or the days to follow, you start to feel it. Soft tissue injury is no joke. It could cause permanent damage as well as severe pain as the days following the accident. Don't waste time getting the runaround from attorneys who tell you it has to be broke. Like I've said in the past, you need to understand it to win it. And at 1-800-INJURY-LAW, this is what we do. Let me get right to the point. At 1-800-INJURY-LAW, we don't get paid unless we win. And I will assure you, we are not in business to lose. It's one call, it's one firm, the Harrison Law Group, 1-800-INJURY-LAW. If you've been hurt in any way, make the call. You have nothing to lose. 1-800-INJURY-LAW.
We're back. We were talking Pro Mod. I mean, Melanie got down into the 577s with that the turbos of tearing it up. But you know what? Danny Rowe won last week. He runs a blower. So I mean it's kind of all over the map now. And then this week you have ADRL running. So they run 8th mile, but You know, they're running some ridiculous numbers too.
About a year and a half ago, I hooked up with Dustin Burr over at Willwood Brakes because I bought some brakes for my Pontiac, the car I'm restoring, and he told me, "Hey, you got a GTO? We have a GTO." I got a GTO. What kind of car? Well, they're running a Pro Mod. I'm like, really? And then I checked out the car, and they were running in the low 6s, but the mile an hour, I don't remember now what it was. I remember when you heard about it, you flipped. You're like, how is he mile an hour? He was like 20 miles an hour faster. But he's running 2 80mm turbos on this car, and those things don't stop.
Yeah, the turbos, the turbos run some crazy mile an hour. Like,
they don't stop until you run out of track.
I'm trying to remember what Troy Coughlin ran. He ran some crazy, he ran like a 590, but his mile an hour was like 255 or something crazy. So yeah, the mile an hour is insane. Hang on.
I'm talking about a freight train.
Shoot.
Yeah, if you had wings, you could fly.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
You know, but then people are like, oh, well, we need to slow them down, so put weight in them. I'm like, oh, a heavier bullet? Okay.
Right. Yeah,
but it is what it is. You know, the turbo cars are just insanely fast.
In every area of racing throughout the years, guys always figure out how to go faster because of either ingenuity, smarts, or whatever, and then the officials always find a way to slow them down. Restrict the plates in NASCAR.
Look at the fuel cars. They got them down 2,000 feet.
Yeah.
And 332 miles an hour.
Yeah,
in 3 seconds.
Wow.
332 miles an hour. So.
In 3 seconds.
That is a bullet.
So okay, so you're gonna say, well, we cut it down to 1,000 feet. Doesn't matter. They've got to figure it out.
I'd like to see them go a mile. You know, let's see what they can do in a mile.
Go to Bonneville.
Well, run out of fuel. I mean, you just re-engineer it. You re-engineer the car. But imagine a mile. Wow. I mean, when Rob Stuck sent me that video from Z-Max on the starting line with his, he had a little Go video camera, and he hit it at 4 rails, and they start, fire, and go, and it just luckily the camera was able to compensate. But what you heard was the top end charge. Just 4 cars full out top end, and then you heard them shut off, and you just heard that whack, that echo.
It's crazy.
I mean, you were there. You could tell what it sounded like. Even on the video,
and the video is on motormouthradio.com.
It is, and to think, man, you know if they go a little further, and that's the thing. When I go to the track, I love to be by the starting line. I love to see the burnouts. I love to see the launches. I like to see 60 foot. I love to see mid track. I love the top end charge. When the rails are running, you got to be on top end. Literally, your organs will move in a way that you didn't know they could move.
Well, at 8,000 horsepower.
And that was
times 4.
That's 32,000 horsepower.
This is where we are opposites because I like the starting line. I like the tree. I like when...
I thought you were talking about the buffet. You like the buffet.
The buffet is good too. But I like when they're sitting there, they're wheel to wheel, and that's what you're watching when they react. And that's the part of the race I like. Once you get past 60 feet, I'm like, go ahead.
Well, a lot of times that race is won or lost on the starting line.
Totally believe it.
I mean, that's cutting
now it is, because, I mean, now reaction times, it's all about the reaction time. I mean, last week, I don't know how many whole shot victories there were. So, I mean, you know, they really have to, they really have to.
It's so far removed from what we know from years ago. I mean, clutch technology alone for a launch sequence is computer time, you know, multi-level clutches. I mean, these things are programmed to come on within milliseconds.
And all you're doing is just throwing the shifter,
like
right? There's no...
The top fuel cars. Like, we were looking at one of the top fuel cars one day, and they're direct drive.
Yeah, it's 1 speed.
It's crazy.
Oh,
yeah, it's direct drive. Yeah. I'm like, we gotta do so much stuff in our car. What do you mean it's direct drive?
Right. They're just punching a pedal and holding on.
1 speed.
Even with the converter, I still gotta, even with the converter, I still gotta work it as a clutch.
Right.
You know, except when I get in trouble, I can't push it in.
I remember the old Lenko days. We had all the rods.
That was what I was thinking about. We're just pulling rods.
Pro Stop still does
that. Andrew, it's a 3-speed, and he has the levers. I have the tower, but he has the levers. But it's the same thing. Like when we were looking at, I think it was Terry McMillan's car, and I'm like, he goes, yeah, it's direct drive.
Yeah. And you look at where they sit. Well, now with the rear engine, of course, it's different. You look at Bill Lynch's cars, all real, and you sit on the rear end. There's this little stubby drive shaft right in front of you, and then that Hemi. And God, and you know if something goes wrong,
you'll be the first to know.
You hope the family has already been created because it may not be after that.
That's insane.
But that's you think about. Do you ever think about the roots of the sport with men like that when they were back in the early days, rudimentary fire suits. It was like Reynolds wrap. You saw the old fire suits. I mean, the gloves. They probably used a pair of leather gloves, and it's like nowhere's near where safety is today. Thank God. I mean, things are so much more driver friendly today.
Yeah, I have a picture of Billy Lynch's fire suit. Yeah. I do. I'll have to post some of those pictures.
That's a great.
You can check out Parise Racing, Facebook, Twitter. I'll post some of those pictures on our Facebook, and we're going to start to redo the website, I think, a little bit too.
You need to get Billy on the show.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to give Billy a call and try to get him on the show. He's definitely got some amazing stories to tell. I mean, that some roots in drag racing there that I think people would be very interested to hear.
And through Bill, we've had some other guys on the show. Dennis Quintoni from Plainville. He still races an alcohol car.
Yep.
Coney Island Ralph Landolfi, who was legendary. And we had Ralph on the show, and he was just getting warmed up when the hour ended. He says, "We're done. We're done." I'm like, "Ralph, come back. We'll do it again."
Yeah, that was a good show.
One of my favorites, Lindsay Romano from Lindsay's Automotive in Brooklyn. Another guy, Pontiac racer, who's always been near and dear to my heart.
How about Richie Zool?
Richie Zool, another one.
Oh, Richie Zool, right.
Now, Richie's slated to come back, but he's retired from his business, but he's still active.
Yeah.
And he's just so damn busy. Every time I send him an email, I was like, "Well, get back to me in a little while. Shoot me back." So I have to remember, like, okay, keep Richie in rotation, and one of these days it'll come.
Exactly.
We loved Richie because basically he was not giving us any information at all.
I asked him about combinations he was running in the 60s, and he wouldn't crack. He was Richie, come on.
Right. He was a true drag racer. Never gave away his secret.
40 years ago. Come on.
Yeah. He's like a little of this, a little of that.
I asked him how he made his car go faster over the years. I figured a broad question. And he says, "Well, you run it the way it is, then you change the carburetor, then you change the intake. Next thing you know, you're putting heads on it.
Right.
Yeah, it's tires, it's transmission. Next thing you know, you're going fast." I was like, "All right."
That never done enough for you?
No.
Yeah. I was writing it all down going, that's it.
Knowing that the man spends hours and hours in a machine shop with valves and valve seat, just the science
that shop
behind
that he has now, though, is he does a lot of boats, doesn't he?
Yeah. And actually, the guy who's the man who's building the engine for my Pontiac is another big marine engine builder, Bill Dugan, up in Lake Ronkonkoma.
Yeah. Well,
and
guess what?
What?
We chewed up an hour.
Oh boy.
How about that?
Already?
Already.
It can't be that fast.
Thank you guys so much for coming on. It was
Dina, anytime.
Great to have you here for our first show. Everybody, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you're going to watch us every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Parise Racing, BurndownTV, and make sure you watch Evie Turner, and make sure you watch LJ and Tom's show as well. And check us out, PariseRacing.com, and you can see Motormouth, where you can check out MotormouthRadio.com. There's a link on our website as well. Thanks very much for watching. See you soon.